And welcome to Stone's Guide on building a Jack Daniel's light display. It's quite straightforward. You just need a couple of items from around the workshop. First thing you'll need is some sort of shelf. I bought this on an online auction site. It's a couple of pounds for 3 of them, so ideal really just to mount it on. You're also going to need your drinks bottle of choice. For me, it's the Jack Daniel's Honey, but anything can work as long as it's clear glass and works with your LED colour. You also need a set of fairy lights. Any colours can be used. Any 20 LED plus will be ideal. It's also important to get yourself some decent glass drill bits. Using normal high-speed bits will not work for this project, and a good drill with variable speed controls. When drilling glass, it does need to be done slowly. You'll also need like a resin or a glue for gluing it all together. For me, it's the RS Components. It's good quality stuff, and I've never had any issues with it in the past, bonding most things. It's also ideal to have something to mix the resin with. I use an old screwdriver personally, perfect for the job. And finally, you'll just need a Dremel with a decent router bit in it. This will be ideal just for cutting the shelf and running for your cables. It's quite straightforward, comes in most Dremel kits. The first step is to get your drill ready. I usually use a small drill bit first, like a 2 or 3mm size bit. Make sure the bottle's cleaned out before you start, otherwise you will get some Jack Daniel's fumes off of there. Not always a bad thing. So the first thing I do, as I say, just slowly work the drill bit in. You don't want to go too fast now because you'll overheat the drill bit and it can blunt it and you could shatter the glass. So really just take your time. I've sped the footage up here just to save you waiting. If you do find it's getting too hot, do use something like a cooling oil, like WD-40. It will be perfect just to keep the temperature down while you're drilling away. Now with your pilot hole drilled, you can move up to the larger size bit. I usually use a 10mm bit here. It's perfect for getting the LEDs through, but depending on the size of your LEDs, do check beforehand. Now with your bottle drilled, you can start unpacking your LEDs and getting them ready to feed through the bottle. I'll normally put half of the LEDs through, and I will use something like a screwdriver or a set of tweezers just to get the first LED through the hole. Once it's at the bottom, you can simply feed it through, but do take it slowly because if you pull them through, you could rip the LEDs from the cables. Now with the LEDs fed through, you've got two options. You can either leave them all packed in at the bottom with a big cluster, which I don't personally think looks as good, or you can pull half of them through, cut a little section of tie wrap like I've done here, and you can almost loop them off of that and have a few hanging from the top. And the idea behind that is it just gives even light throughout the bottle. Personally, like I say, I think it looks much better like this, but it's purely your choice. Now with all the LEDs in the bottle and the battery pack to the side, you've got two options. You can either go ahead and continue to build the shelf, which we'll show in the rest of this video, or you can simply have a freestanding Jack Daniel's light. Now this is the easiest option. They work really well in decorating a stairwell or even a kitchen, because they can be moved anywhere and they run off the power pack that can be glued just to the back of the bottle. We can now start working on our display shelf. As I've said, these can be bought cheaply online. I bought 3 of these for about £12, so it gives me a few left over to build some other projects if I chose to. So as you can see, it's quite lightweight, it's quite straightforward, and with the Dremel I'm just going to cut a small channel through the back of it. Now it does need to be deep enough that the cable can be completely flush with the shelf. If it's not, it won't allow the shelf to sit correctly back on the wall. With the channel cut in the shelf, you can now glue the battery pack to the side of the shelf. You can mount it anywhere really, to the bottom, left side, right side, but you just want to make sure it's out of sight. You can now glue the bottle to the shelf. Again, using the RS Components resin, it's quite straightforward. Put it on all 4 corners of the base and then simply press down and allow it to set. Using a small amount of super glue, simply glue the cable to the shelf so that it doesn't flap around when trying to secure it back to the wall. Once all the glue's set, you can now put the batteries in the kit to test that it all works correctly. If you do want to make a larger one with 3 bottles, the only thing you really need to do is make slight wiring changes so that you can run the 3 sets of LEDs. I've used different colours in the past as well, and you can use different bottles for different effects.